Hello, everybody. Yes, this is another edition of the Pompously Political Podcast, or some call it Polypompous, where we delve into the news and the exciting adventures of the political arena. Yeah, no greater drama on the planet than the theater of politics. And as usual, I am co-host Jimmy, and I am joined by co-host and
Scott.
oh.
Sorry, I thought I was going to forget my name there for a second.
The build up to an underwhelming introduction to Mr. Scott Deming.
Well, really, you
Um,
said exciting in politics in the same sentence, and I don't know that that's ever been true.
oh, what are you talking about, man? Politics is super exciting. It's infuriating how exciting it is because
Oh,
you know it's
infuriating is a great word. I
yeah.
can agree with that one, but exciting?
Well, it's kind of like when you watch or when you read the like National Enquirer and stuff like that. You get infuriated that somebody came up with this bullshit. But then you can't help but read it in the supermarket aisle. And that's what politics is like for me, Scott. It's like the National Enquirer. I read it, and I just go, oh my god, that really happened.
That
And
is that has got to be the worst example that has ever been given. And, oh wow, my camera is terrible right now.
it was kind of
So,
jumping around. I figured your camera was like ADD or something.
well, the angle that it's at, it's really weird. Like, because if I'm sitting up in my chair like this, like I'm too big for the screen, but then when I sit back, like I'm too small, and I feel like I'm not getting to the microphone. So,
Right.
anyways, so it's been a pretty, I guess, calm week. Nothing
Right.
like Trump wasn't in the headlines, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Mike Huckabee was though.
Yeah.
More Republicans running their mouth.
You know, this is my thought on this. I think that when it comes to Republican candidates, because Donald Trump has gotten so much publicity on just being just an asshole, that they're like, hey, maybe I should say something that's, dickish and see if I get in the news. So you're saying Mike Huckabee, right?
Yeah, see, Trump's comments had some basis in. I might regret this because of the backlash. He had some basis in facts. He had some basis in what people wanted to hear, what people were thinking.
I say,
Huckabee, how you're about to describe Trump's comments, the words that are wanting to roll off of your tongue, that applies to Huckabee.
okay,
Because
all right.
there is no excuse for this. There is no.
So what exactly did Mr. Huckabee say?
I'm trying to pull it up. I had it pulled up like 4 different places, and now I don't have it pulled up. There we go. The Iran nuclear deal, which we know was just signed and the UN's approved it, and yay, we're coming to terms with that country. Quote, the Iran nuclear deal is marching the Israelis to the door of the oven.
Ooh, holy cow. um, that's terrible. Considering he's supposed to be like, obviously he's pro-Israel and he's basically trying to say that is gonna be like the Holocaust. Was what he was getting at, but he said it in a very unsavory, I guess I hate to use it, Scott, but un-PC approach to it that even offended his Israeli/Jewish brethren. 'Cause, hey, it's a little sensitive to Holocaust issue. You can't just start throwing that out there and expect people to like you.
It's not that you can't. There are plenty of Holocaust jokes that I will laugh at. That doesn't mean I support the Holocaust. It's more that he's a presidential candidate. And I know we just had this conversation with Trump, but like I was saying, Trump was hitting a specific demographic. Unless Huckabee is appealing to the neo-Nazis or the white supremacists, there's really no reason to use that type of language. Like, that is pushing it way over the limit. Trump walked that line, walked a very thin line, brought some issues to light about political correctness. This is just wrong. This is Huckabee looking, going, hey, if Trump can do it, I can do it 5 steps better or worse
Right.
in this case. And Obama's response was actually really on point. Um, that when you get rhetoric like this, maybe it gets attention, and maybe it's just an effort to push Mr. Trump out of the headlines. But it's not the kind of leadership that's needed for America right now. And if you compare comments like that to comments that, say, Bernie Sanders has made, you can see there is a clear difference in cognitive capacity or the ability to actually speak to the point yet eloquently without, isolating entire demographics and pushing them out.
Right. And that's the thing, man. I I hate to throw my Bernie love out there so prematurely, but he's surprised me. Like I actually got in a pretty I don't know if I've expressed this on the podcast, but I've gotten a pretty passionate discussion because I had pretty much settled for Hillary in the sense that I felt she would be a more viable candidate, especially specifically for the nomination because she has the money and the resources and the political connections.
Brand. She
Right, the
she she is
brand.
a brand.
Right, that's the word I was looking for. And then Bernie Sanders is great and everything and has some good ideas, but he didn't seem to be a candidate worth throwing some weight behind. And then so I had this huge like my friends were, "Oh, Bernie Sanders he's the man." And I was like, "Well, he's not going to get elected and blah blah blah." And then I'm slowly but surely getting proven wrong, which is something I got to get used to, man. I'm humbled in that aspect where I'm like, one minute I'm tossing Bernie under the bus of like none, not candidate worthy, and now I'm like, uh, I'm on the Bernie train a little bit, just a little bit. I hope he gets the nomination. So, but on the topic of Huckabee, I know I kind of dealt off of there. Huckabee is the sheer contrast to that. You have Bernie Sanders, who is pro-social programs, pro-separation of church and state, and then you have Huckabee, who, in his own words, said that him getting elected would be God's uh, consent for him to basically turn us back to Jesus or whatever, make us almost like a theocratic type state. And then these comments just show that he's not candidate material, like you were saying. Bernie Sanders can do it with poise, even when he doesn't know how to comb his hair, uh, which has got to say something. The candidate that looks less like a presidential candidate sounds the most like a presidential candidate. Isn't that just
Acts the most like it, yeah.
acts? Yes, acts the most like it. It's weird because like if you were to see a picture of Bernie Sanders and see a picture of Mike Huckabee, you would look at it and you would go, okay, maybe Mike Huckabee looks the part, but he doesn't act the part. But then you have Bernie Sanders is the complete opposite. So interesting sort of analysis or comparison.
It's really. And I'll back off this comment as soon as I make it. No Republican candidate has established himself as a person who knows how to speak like the president, except
Right.
here in this past week or two, Jeb Bush has actually come out and started saying things very reasonably, very rationally, where he looks to be the level head of the Republican Party and not the extreme conservative. Oh, we're marching the Israelis to the oven. Um, it's going to balance out. I was reading an article earlier about Trump, which really hit what you were saying. I think it was 2 weeks ago about, Michelle Bachmann did the same thing a couple years ago, where she came out and said a couple things and really got some support, and then the act got old, and we all got tired of her crazy. And the article was saying the same thing about Trump, is that his acts can get old. It's just the difference with Trump is that he can go independent. He can break away from the Republican Party
Right.
and run as an independent. What stops people from doing that normally is A, the lack of money, which obviously isn't an issue for Trump. And B, this might be an opinion at this point, but they said a sense of proportion and decency, which Trump seems to be lacking. But I don't know. I still think he's going to burn out, just like you said. Even now, it's getting to the point where it's kind of old news. He may do something in the primaries, or may say something in Ohio to get everybody going. But then again, so did the Duck Dynasty guy. So,
Well, yeah, we haven't even gotten to the first debates. We haven't even seen the candidates on the same floor discussing the same issues, answering the same types of questions. Because when you look at it, yes, these other candidates, Jeb Bush may be the most level-headed of the bunch, but that's not saying a lot. But then, of course, when you get them on the same stage, you'll see. I'm telling you, you'll see Donald Trump say some crazy stuff. You'll see the other candidates say things that are less crazy, but still crazy. And then ultimately, I feel that Jeb Bush would appeal the most. He's the Mitt Romney this time around, where he's lukewarm in the sense that polling wise, he's not the most popular, especially because he does have the Bush name. But I think ultimately he will take the Republican nomination.
I would have to agree. I think what's going to happen at those first series of debates is Trump's going to say something, but Trump, I don't think he knows how to actually debate. He knows how to just talk what's on his mind, and he's going to talk himself into a circle that experienced politicians are going to be able to call him out on. But in the meantime, he's going to try to overpower the conversation, and when he does that, several of the lesser Republican candidates that are just there, God only knows why they're there. They're going to get their
18?
they're going to get their feathers ruffled, and they're probably going to try to fire back at him. And I think the whole time that this is happening, it's going to be Jeb Bush sitting in the corner, not getting ruffled, not getting riled up by it, just very calm, very level-headed, responding. And I mean, he's a Bush. He's been in politics since the moment he was conceived. He's going to know how to trap him. Because in contrast to W, Jeb is actually kind of a smart guy, but W is more like Trump in that sense, where he just kind of says what's on his mind and old colloquialisms and whatnot. Whereas I think Jeb is more kind of refined in that sense. He's had three presidencies, I guess, if you want to look at it that way, to see what you should and should not do.
Right, and he's still failing there. I mean, just look at the comments that he made about the Iraq War. Jeb Bush, he's not a perfect candidate by no stretch of the imagination. The other thing is what a lot of people don't realize is, Scott, is that with the presidential debates, you have to meet a certain criteria in the polling and stuff like that in order to even get on the stage. So I even foresee candidates like Fiorina, however you say her name is, the HP chick, the
Carly.
the lady, Carly Fiorina. I can't say her name, but you know who I'm talking. Fiorina or something like that. We're gonna see candidates like her drop off. She's gonna be gone.
There was somebody in the polls they were talking about earlier this week that has consistently polled at 0% since they announced. It's one of the Republicans. Like, he has no support at all from anybody.
I hope it's what's his name, Ben Carson. I hope that guy's not getting.
No, it's not Carson. It's one of the guys that, like, you hear his name and you're like, who the hell is that?
Well, yeah, he's going to drop off then by the time the debates come along. And I hope that Fiorina or whatever her name is, Ben Carson, I don't know what he's polling at, but those candidates that are towards the bottom of the polling percentages will fall off. Within Trump's case, if he does fall in the numbers, he can then start petitioning for a more independent type ticket instead of going for the Republican nomination. So Trump does have that diversity or versatility, if you will, in that he can switch like that because he does have the money and the resources.
He is even at the absolute top right now.
Donald Trump, yeah. Which, like I said, people like people that say crazy comments, but the moment that it actually becomes a reality that they might be the most powerful person in the country, they're not going to like those crazy comments. I don't see that many, I don't see that much of the population agreeing with what Trump has to say. At least I hope not. If that's the case, then our country is really taking a really just bizarre turn. like there may be some truth or opinionated truth in what he says, in a sense that even if it's not entirely factual, it's something that people want to hear. You know what I mean? So,
According, I'm trying to pull up some polls now, and according to the latest
okay.
numbers, um, it was Lindsey Graham that was at 0%. But I don't think. Well, no. Looking at all of the polls that have come in, like he polls between 0 and 2% basically everywhere. There's one poll, uh, the Economist or YouGov, that has him at 5%, but yeah, everything else he's like 0, 1%.
Um, yeah, which is crazy because him, you would think that he would poll somewhat better because of the thing with Trump giving out his phone number. Excuse me, and then him doing that video of him smashing cell phones. You
Yeah.
would think that you would typically with something like that, you would typically when you have a response like that, you would see an uptick in the polls at least a little bit. So maybe that's where the 5% comes from. But still, that's not good for you, Lindsey Graham. You're going to taper off by the time the debates hit.
He's already tapered off. But
What's
it's got him at 0.2%, Carly Fiorina at 1.3, along with Bobby Jindal at 1.3, and then Rick Santorum at 1.5, John Kasich,
Oh
Kasich,
yeah, Kashish or yeah.
she's at 2.2,
He
even
just
though there's
barely
another
int-
poll that says he's at 7.
he just barely announced not too long ago. Uh, he's another one of those again, all those candidates by the time the debate hits, they're gonna fall off.
Yeah.
And then even when it comes to the Democratic side, which we have I think Lincoln Chafee is his name. We have him on there. I think we're up to 4 or 5 Democratic candidates. Um, so we potentially may see them on the debate floor, but like I said, it's going to be down to Bernie and Hillary. So Chafee has no backbone. He's got some good policy ideas, but he comes across as very timid.
Chafee's at 0.3%.
Right.
Clinton is still polling 56.9%, with Bernie at 18.5. Um, Apparently, Joe Biden has announced.
When did Joe Biden announce?
Oh,
When
it
did that
says
happen?
he's at 12% though.
I didn't know
And
he
then
was in it.
a
It could have been one of
Martin.
those wish lists. Like I remember how they were polling Elizabeth Warren for a while, like trying to trying to coax her in the running. That
Oh, that's
happened.
true.
So it could be like a wish list sort of thing, like, oh yeah, Joe Biden.
Oh, and okay. Apparently, he has expressed interest in running for president.
Right.
So the official candidates are Lincoln Chafee, Hillary Clinton, Martin O'Malley, governor of
Yeah.
Maryland.
He's
Um,
another one. He's another one's gonna fall off. He's not gonna.
oh yeah, 0.5%, and then Jim Webb and Bernie Sanders. So that's the official field right now
And
on the
just think
Democratic side.
of all those candidates. Again, you said Clinton at 56, Bernie at 18. All those percentages of candidates, um, the onesies and twosies, that support for those candidates is going to ultimately go to, uh, historically, it's going to go to the second candidate, the person that's not in the lead, but is in the second lead. Second
Really?
lead.
Okay, that's interesting.
Just because you got to look at it like this: they're not going for the person at the top; they're going for that candidate like Lincoln Chafee, right? They're going for it because they disagree with something that the majority candidate is expressing, right?
Yeah.
Particularly Hillary in the topic of financial reform and how cozy she is with banks and just general distrust. So who do you think
Yeah.
that?
Let's not forget her emails in Benghazi. Let's
Right,
not let that.
Benghazi. So yes, there's that aspect on there as well. So you have a candidate that's the reason why they're gravitating toward these other candidates. And then the way that the Democratic Party works is a lot of these candidates have the same sorts of policy. They're all speaking about the same talking points. Financial reform, even healthcare is still on the ticket. in wealth inequality, these sorts of things. So what's going to happen is they're going to go for the candidate that's going to give the most run of the money towards the majority candidate, so which is going to be Bernie Sanders. So I feel that they're going to throw their support behind Bernie Sanders, and that's historically how it goes. Even if you look at was it 2008 when you had Hillary versus Obama?
Mm-hmm.
Hillary for a long time was a majority candidate, and then we had some other. I think we had some other people fall off. There were some other people that were involved.
And you had this upstart senator that nobody had ever heard of comes out and beats
Right.
her, which is kind of a repeat of what we have going on now. But to deviate from that just a little bit, I want you to sit and let everybody watch you process the thought as you come to terms and realizing that 12% of people want Ice Cream Joe to be president.
12% want Ice Cream Joe.
Joe Biden, Ice Cream Joe
Joe Biden.
Biden.
Okay, I'm taking a minute. I'm like, Ice Cream Joe. It had to click in my brain, but yeah, okay, I
He
remember.
has 12%.
12%. You know, here's the thing. Joe Biden, policy-wise, Joe Biden, the politician, the person who his record in Congress, great, phenomenal. Vice President Joe Biden, not so great, and that's the problem with vice presidents is they're largely ineffective. They're always going to be in the shadow of the president. That's the first thing. The second thing is Joe Biden has a huge issue with foot and mouth disease. We don't like that as a candidate. We didn't like it with Bush. We just couldn't get rid of him. We didn't like, which is weird because we have Donald Trump polling so high. But that's the thing. So if it's 12%, it's probably 12% of the people looking at his policy record. Tremendous support for women's rights, spousal, domestic violence. He's a huge opponent on making sure that things get taken care of for that.
But if he can't control his hands in a press conference, is this really the guy we want going and shaking hands with Putin or Merkel or somebody like that representing us?
Right. Well, no kidding. I'm not saying
And
that
as
he's a
soon as he
viable
walks
candidate.
away from that photo op, grabbing his ice cream cone and kicking back his ice cream.
Oh man, that's the
Because that
thing.
man loves his ice cream. Let's
Yeah.
don't forget that.
Yeah. I agree with you, Scott. I don't think he's a viable candidate whatsoever. It's just I could see that 12% coming from people that know his policy records, that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I don't think he's going to run, honestly. Maybe he'll be another vice president. Maybe somebody will snatch him up for vice presidency again.
Yeah, because he did such an amazing job this time.
Oh, he's just lucky to get put on second string. That's his thing.
Look, we
Put me in,
really
coach.
we really don't want him back doing what he was doing before. So let's just leave him as the tiebreaker vote and nothing more. It'll be fine. Anyways, so moving back into, I think you had a article you wanted to go over, some news.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, ladies and gentlemen. I have two articles. Which one do you want? Do you want the good or do you want the bad, Scott?
Let's go with the good. I need some good news.
Okay. Good news for advocates of LGBTQ rights, ladies and gentlemen. Boy Scouts has overturned their ban on gay scouts.
I just want to go on the record as saying that is the most ineffective ban in the history of bans.
Right. That would. I was going to throw out a really inappropriate analogy there, so I'll just leave it at it's ineffective. I almost said a case of
unless of course
disease.
we don't classify same-sex pedophiles as being gay.
What, same-sex pedophile? You have to elaborate on there, man.
All the child abuse cases they had with their scoutmasters touching little boys.
That was a thing? I thought it was just an SNL skit. You might have to elaborate on that. I
That
thought
was
the
a
council.
thing several years ago. There was a string of Boy Scout troop leaders that were convicted for um, sexual assault, sexual abuse, things like that.
I just remember the Alec Baldwin Canteen Boy sketches from SNL. So that could be where it comes from. I don't know, but on that larger topic, the two don't
Yeah,
correlate
yeah.
together.
There were 2,000 reported cases of abuse prior to 1994.
No. It wasn't because of gay people, though. It wasn't. No. Or gay scouts. Let's put it that way. Because I don't know who the perpetrators in this matter are, but I mean, still, like, if there is a large number of uh, sexual abuse going on in the Boy Scouts, why should the Scouts themselves be punished? Excuse me, I got some burps today, man. Why would the Scouts themselves be punished for that? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're a gay scout. Oh, you can't join the Boy Scouts because there's some sexual abuse going on. You know, it doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense.
and back to what I said, that's got to be the most ineffective ban ever. I think
Right.
that's something that may have been in place, and maybe there was that one scout leader. I was like, we don't take the gays. You go with the fairy scouts or whatever. But for the most part,
I want to be a fairy scout. That sounds fun. What do the fairy scouts do, man? I mean,
they go to Star Trek conventions and post pictures
ouch.
of themselves in Star Trek uniforms on their wall while they're doing a podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to sign up for the fairy scouts, tweet it at Polypompous. Hashtag Pascali.
But at this point, have we moved past gay rights? I mean,
No, dude,
they're
there's still
getting
so
rights,
many.
but
There's still
it's
so
it's
many
part
things.
of that system coming down of those walls, and it's just another thing that has been corrected. It's at this point, it's almost like ISIS. It's like, okay,
Right.
next story.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that tremendous strides have been made. Tremendous strides have been made in making sure that people within the LGBTQ community are you know able to experience some of the equality that they deserve as human beings. But of course, like all things, it's still an ongoing battle. I think it's one of those issues that now that we've made tremendous strides, that we as a nation can kind of shift focus a little bit and look at other issues that are on the table. Like, why are we having so many shootings? That's the issue that we should probably focus on as a society right now. Um, that sort of thing. Um, other news, Scott. Hulk Hogan uh, is in the news. Of course, he is fired from wrestling, the WWE and so forth. They pulled him down from the websites. Uh, I'm sure they've recalled all of his action figures and so forth because he used the N-word repeatedly in a video. Also, amid allegations that there might be a Hulk Hogan sex tape, at which halfway through, I'm sure somebody else gets tagged in because he's too tired.
God.
Come over the rope, brother. Oh, so yeah, so that's the news, ladies and gentlemen. He has been fired. So another one of your
How
idols,
do
if
you
he is your
fire
idol.
somebody who hasn't wrestled in 20 years?
He's been wrestling. He's been wrestling recently. He's been back in the ring and doing stuff with WWE, kind of like Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon has been uh, a figurehead in wrestling forever, but a little do people know he actually wrestled and he wrestles from time to time.
Isn't Ed McMahon the guy from Publishers Clearinghouse?
I have to Google that. I know it's McMahon. It's one. He's I think am I wrong on this one? Am I gonna have to eat my words on that?
Well, McMahon is that McMahon.
I know he's a McMahon. All right, ladies, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes
Vince
names.
McMahon.
Vince McMahon, not Ed McMahon.
You're eating your words.
Oh, the wrong McMahon. Well, you know what? Ed McMahon, he could probably wrestle too. Well, I don't think he's
Minus
alive.
that, yeah, I was gonna say minus that whole thing where he died 6 years ago, but you know.
Yeah. But that might be interesting. Like if the cute like the dude's in the middle of the ring with his championship belt, and he's like talking about how he's champion of the world, and all of a sudden this ominous music comes down, and Ed McMahon floats down in a cloud of smoke, resurrected to fight for the title. Would that blow your mind?
I
Surprise
hope
me,
you're
he died 6 years ago.
I hope you're listening, Comedy Central, because we just resurrected Celebrity Deathmatch for you.
Ooh, yeah. He'll come. Publishers Clearinghouse, isn't that one that they used to send like a giant check to your door about how you won something, won some money? Wasn't that Publishers Clearinghouse? Yeah, he'll come out with
Yeah,
a
he-
check and everything.
Yep.
So,
All right.
so what do you got, man? That's all I have for news. It's been slow.
I got one that when I read this, I read it right before we started, and we were already talking, and you saw my jaw hit the floor when I read it because it's going to take a minute for you to process everything that I'm about to say. So
I thought you had just found the link to the Hulk Hogan sex tape. So I was just like, okay.
probably be looking for my magnifying glass if that had happened. Like, is it there? I don't.
And it actually looks like Macho Man Randy Savage. That's weird.
All right. I hope you're ready for this. I want to put that
Okay.
cup down. Make sure you don't have everything in your mouth. A teenage missionary who volunteered to help children at an orphanage in Kenya has allegedly confessed to raping several of the youngsters he was supposed to be caring for. Matthew Durham, 19, traveled to Africa with a group called Apendo. After reports of abuse from a number of children at the facility, police say he confessed to sexually assaulting several boys and girls between the ages of 4 and 9. And he's currently being held without bail and faces life in prison.
Wow. Holy cow. 4 and 9? Like,
Between 4 and 9.
okay. After my initial shock of this, holy cow. Like, okay. So, is there a reason why he came forward? Obviously, that he admitted to this. Did somebody say something? Did one of these?
Well, they
somebody
said
come
the
forward?
police were getting reports of abuse, and I guess they confronted him and he confessed.
Okay. Good call on not letting him or not allowing him to have bail. So that's good. And man, the oversight for these programs just is non-existent. Like, a person that is in a position like that is a trusted individual that people look at as a sort of moral authority because it's just supposedly affiliated with religion, which of course you and I, Scott, we have our own feelings about that. But the thing about it is when you go to these countries and you're, oh well, I'm a priest or I'm a missionary or or something affiliated with that, it's the last person that you would hope would damage that community. Because they're supposed to be there for good, man. You're supposed to be there for good, and you're just shitting all over it. The few things that religion can do that's good, and you just shat all over it. Oh man, it's horrifying. Of course, your thoughts, man. I'll kind of turn it over to you before I start losing my mind.
There is not a hell hot enough for people like that. That's just. I think you nailed it when you said to take a position of authority or of respect or something like that, and to just grossly abuse it in that manner. I want to delve off into several things that I think that this kind of touches on, but that would be a topic for another time.
Okay. And I hope that Did it say how many people that he had
No, they
supposedly?
just said several reports.
Okay. Well, I hope that these individuals that were accosted were victimized, or you know, are able to move forward from something like that. You know, like that's not something that is certainly easily forgettable, and I hope that they get the justice they deserve. So,
Reading through the comments on Facebook about this, I just got to show this because it made me chuckle.
okay.
Crazy ass white people.
It's true. You know, here's the thing, man. I just terrible. Like my brain's still processing that the age of 4 through 9. Um, 4 years old, man. That's like how could you potentially look at somebody in that sort of way? You know what I mean? Like at
Yeah.
that age is just it's horrendous. Like number one, you have a serious fucking problem if that's what you think of when you're around children like that. The second thing is like if that's going through your brain, ladies and gentlemen, then you need to like look for help. Like you need to like the rational person within your brain should go, okay, maybe I should seek therapy because this is not natural and not right.
So breaking news, I guess this just
Okay.
popped up on my feed. Donald Trump caught red-handed running a fake university scam, stealing millions from students.
Ooh.
He is under investigation by I believe it says the FBI. Saw it earlier,
Nice.
I can't find it now. Basically, the suit alleges that the university would upsell students in its initial free seminar to buy a $1,495 one-year apprenticeship, which was effectively a 3-day seminar. Then if they bought that, the teachers would upsell them again to buy mentorships at a cost of $10,000 and up, the most expensive being the Gold Elite program at $35,000. All of this for learning how to get rich quick, which we all know you can't do that.
Right. Unless you're a YouTube celebrity, ladies and gentlemen. But the thing about it is, okay, when you have a society that is based off of prestige via monetary wealth, like you have people that like will look at people that are like, oh, Bill Gates, he's accomplished something because look at how much money he's made. Look how successful he is based upon how much money he has. When you have that, and when you have a society that requires money to do a lot of the things that we want to do, uh, like eat and sleep and breathe, like we need all that, we need money to have it. You get desperation, and you get people that are willing to try anything. And then when you're a person, a scumbag that wants to exploit that sort of desperation for your own monetary gain, there's nothing more to say other than you are a scumbag. And if those so-called professors that are involved in this, you should be ashamed to even call yourself that. You should be professors are meant to teach people things, to educate them on actual things,
Well,
not do things to take their fucking money.
that was another thing that was said is that it used to call itself a univer. I just punched my microphone. My bad. It used to call itself a. It used to call itself Trump University, but the state of New York sued him, and he had to change the name, saying that labeling it as university was misleading and almost illegal to be called a college or university. It also says it has now come to light that in all likelihood the teachers at this Ivy League institution or Ivy League caliber institution were in fact private contractors who made commissions selling the courses.
Scumbags.
Absolutely. He just lost all of my support in that one article. Granted, I'm going to do a little bit more digging on that, make sure it's actually true and verified, but that's pathetic. You have a clear difference between billionaires and crooks. And you have guys like Bill Gates and Facebook guy, Mark Zuckerberg, who they legitimately invented something that exploded and took off, and
And they do good things with that wealth. Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg have donated hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars towards charities and philanthropic type work.
And you could argue that they both screwed people over to get where they were, because they did. Zuckerberg took the Harvard connections thing, got sued for it, and lost. He was obviously guilty. Gates made a habit of finding lesser products, lesser companies, to bundle them into Windows and just buying them out. And some of those were not entirely fair what he did. But you get to a point where, I guess to kind of justify them, they're not crooks. They were developing a product that in turn changed the world. And what they've done with that money, like you said, they've been very charitable. Bill Gates drops millions just left and right, millions here, millions there, because he's got it to do. And he's pushing for other billionaires to basically give away all their money. They don't need it all. Then you have guys like Trump, whose entire career is based off these shady dealings. The guy's filed bankruptcy like 3 times. I mean, I had respect for him coming out and highlighting some issues, but when his real self starts coming out, you start seeing who he actually is, that respect starts fading rather quickly.
And I think I'm more because I expect that sort of thing from Trump.
Yeah.
But I think I'm more angry at the people that he had working for something like that. I think I've heard of this Trump University thing. I think it's come out before, but it didn't really gain a whole lot of traction. I think it was when he was calling it Trump University or something. And then he switched names. Where are your morals if you get involved in something that is that its whole goal is the exploitation of people's desperation? I mean, if you were in that person's, where's your empathy? Where is your sense of community? That, oh well, it's every man for himself. He who has the most toys wins. So I'm just gonna shit all over all you people who want to make something of yourself. You just found the shitty avenue to go down. Yeah, it's infuriating. And I know you had something else. Weren't you saying Ted Cruz was also getting investigated?
Yeah. Reading through it a little bit more, this is actually kind of a repeat incident for him. This happened in 2011, 2012, and in 2013. He skipped out of it in 2014, now 2015. He's not good at keeping his books when it comes to his campaign. So he's getting shady contributions, which he may be actually getting too much from certain areas. And it's not that it's necessarily illegal, it's just sloppy, and it brings a lot of things to question. And it really comes down to them just not dotting their I's and crossing their T's. But they did get served by the FEC, Federal Election Commission, I guess.
Right.
That they are investigating him to see if there's any wrongdoing in there. And like I said, this has happened many times before, and it appears to be simply the way that they're entering it. So there may not actually be anything wrong other than how they're entering it in there. Right. But he is under investigation. So nothing too interesting there. There was something we forgot to mention earlier. Do you have any comments on that before we move on real quick?
Other than, you know what, if you are a political candidate, if you are running for the highest office in the nation, and you can't seem to get basic bookkeeping correct, your organization can't get basic bookkeeping correct, chances are your campaign is not going to do very well. So that's all I have to say on that. So
that's an excellent point, actually. Because that goes back to what we were talking about a few weeks ago, about what we expect out of a president. You don't have to be an expert on everything, but you need to be able to make those decisions and to lead people and to get things done. If you can't even do this in an election campaign or with your election staff of, 10, 15, maybe 30 people, how the hell are you going to do this with a government system of millions of employees?
Right.
Absurd. Anyways, did you see the Rand Paul commercial that came out about the tax code?
No, I didn't. The Rand Paul.
He has this plan to completely throw the tax code out. it would be a flat 14 point something percent tax
Oh, so
on
he's
everybody.
advocating a he's advocating for the flat tax. I've heard this come up every once in a while.
Right, and he's launched this campaign now where it's, well, what do you want to do to the tax code? Like, he chops it with a wood chipper, he chops it with a chainsaw. I think he also incinerates it as the third option. Like, that's his campaign. That's the whole commercial now.
Wow. It's obviously echoing the whole Lindsey Graham chopping up cell phones. I don't know who's this guy floating around that's like, I don't know, what's a good idea for a commercial, guys? Let's destroy shit. Like, I want that job. I want that job. That's crazy. But yeah, I've seen people advocate for the flat tax, which would essentially cause just an equal flat tax across the board of people regardless of economic standing, and so forth, which is completely unfeasible in my book. What are, if you want to give your thoughts on that, Scott? I mean, I'll open the floor to you.
I'm really not too familiar with the whole tax thing. I will hold off from making comments on that at the risk of looking like a complete moron instead of just a half moron.
Hey, it's okay. I mean, I jumped in the lion's den last week with the whole abortion thing, so hopefully I'm not a complete monster. I say I redeemed myself this week, ladies and gentlemen, in that aspect. But yeah, man, it's been a slow news week. It really has. It really has been one of those weeks that's just been a whole lot of just average news, not a whole lot of good stuff.
Well, and then the only other thing I think we had to go over was Bobby Christina Brown has passed away, daughter
right.
of Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown. She had been on life support since, I believe, January, and they had finally said a couple months ago that she was essentially brain dead. She was never going to come back, and then she finally did pass away on yesterday, actually. So it's a terrible tragedy. 22 years old.
I've heard.
To inherit all of her mother's money, had her whole life ahead of her.
Yeah. I've
Gone
heard a
too
lot
soon.
of different stuff about it, that perhaps it was drug related, the incident.
They have released I guess police reports, toxicology reports, and there was no drugs in her system. Then I believe, I could be wrong on that. The concern was with her fiance or boyfriend, whatever he was,
Right.
that he was vying for the $150 million estate that she inherited all of it.
Right. Well, yeah, Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston. Their parents at one time were, at different levels of fame. Obviously, Whitney Houston probably a little more than I would say Bobby Brown. I think Bobby Brown is more famous for beating up Whitney Houston.
It's crazy that he's the one that survives.
Right. It's sad. It's wow. But it's a tragic sort of thing when somebody, especially that young, loses their lives. That does have a lot of opportunities that normal people don't get. Whether even if it was drug related, it's sad. I mean, just look at the Amy Winehouse stuff. That person had so much promise and so much potential, only to succumb to the very demons that she had to deal with in her life.
Amy Winehouse.
Right. Yeah. Amy Winehouse. She died of it. She's been dead for a couple of years now. A while.
She died like 2011, 2012. I mean, she has her own life biography pick that's coming out now. Yeah, 2011.
Yeah.
Almost exactly 4 years ago. It was July 23rd, so we're 4 days over.
Holy cow. So yeah, it's just. I mean, I don't mean to detract from Christina Brown, but it's just when you see the startling amount of people that have talent and opportunities. I don't know exactly what Christina Brown was choosing to do with her life. If she was pursuing singing like her mom, but to have that much opportunity, it's sad. Man.
Yeah.
Note to all the aspiring artists or aspiring millionaires out there, don't do anything that could potentially jeopardize that. And to my kids, my future kids, don't be idiots. that's my advice to my. I'm not saying tying that to Christina Brown. I'm just saying, don't be idiots, and the world will be yours. So,
Have you kept up with some of the developments with Sandra Bland?
Sandra Bland. Okay, yes, a little bit. I don't know how to feel about this, Scott. I watched the video. If you haven't watched the initial video of her being arrested, she is confrontational, but it's clearly, it seems like one of those confrontational things of like, why the hell are you pulling me over? I'm late, sort of thing. I think she was. Oh, excuse me. I think she was on the way of her hiccups, man. I think I some of my tea, and there's your dog. But lost my train of thought. Your dog totally threw me off. But so anyways, oh yeah, okay. So from what I heard, initial reports was she was on her way to a job interview. She was on her way to a job interview and was pulled over, or she was trying to get out of the way of the vehicle, of the police car, because it had the lights on. So she pulled over to the side of the road, but failed to signal when doing so, and so the cop pulled her over. And doing that, then was going to ticket her for pulling her over. Of course, she gets confrontational because she doesn't want to be pulled over in the first place. She's angry, and so then she says something the cop doesn't like. The cop tells her to get out of the car, and she's like, "I don't have to get out of the car. Like, I'm not under arrest." Blah blah blah. And he's like, "Well, you are now." Blah 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 blah. And then wrestles her out of the car and throws her to the ground, to where she's then off camera and then is proceeded to apparently be beaten, where she's saying, "I have epilepsy. I have seizures. This is like, it's gonna end up killing me," type things. And an officer was like, "Good, good," you know. And then on top of that was saying that he showed her the paper. Was like, "You see this? It was going to be a warning. If you just would have cooperated, it's just going to be a warning," type thing. So, of course, going off of that, fast forward, she was then apparently committed suicide in her jail cell, using a trash bag to hang herself. I think it was the thing. Like, she was in the bathroom. She had gone to the bathroom and then hung herself. There have been allegations that she could have potentially been murdered. They were investigating that. Of course, the autopsy report leaned more towards the suicide story. Of course, there is a lot of unanswered threads there in that story altogether. Of course, my thoughts on the video itself is, I think the cop went a little bit overboard. I think he needed to keep his attitude in check. He's the one that's supposed to be professional. He's the one that's supposed to not lose his mind, and he kind of got angry. So I don't know. Have you seen the video, Scott?
No, I haven't. It's one of those issues. I know it's really in depth and there's a lot of emotions in it, so I've tried to stay away from it for now. I just don't have time for it. But from what you describe, I keep asking myself, why would she kill herself? What? And some of the things that I have read about, you know, how she had everything going for her, she had just gotten a new job, like things are going great. Why would she kill herself? There has to be something else going on there. Either she's hiding something, there's something in her past that was about to get brought up, or there was some foul play involved. But
right. I don't know. It's difficult with somebody that when it becomes publicized like that, and such of like, okay, the police at this point have been so just put in the news that the moment that they start saying anything that could potentially be wrongdoing, they automatically start jumping to their own defense. You know, trying to justify their own actions, which of course then makes them look even more involved.
Well, I did read that the police chief had reviewed the video and said that there was some procedural violations and that was going to be taken up with the officer. I don't know if how he was going to be punished, if he was going to be suspended or anything like that, but they did admit that there was some faults on their end.
Right. Which, yeah, when you in the video itself, like I said, when she's saying I have, like seizures, I have epilepsy, like he's throwing me to the ground and stuff could trigger something, like I could die, that sort of thing. And he's just basically like, good, good, like you deserve this type thing. Which on the part of her own sort of like confrontationalness, there's no need for that. I'm sure that if you would have cooperated in the beginning of everything, just took the warning, even if you got the ticket, you could then take it to court and contest it, and chances are, if it is silly as you think it is, you would win it. Okay, that's a possibility. You know what I mean? Being confrontational as an officer is not an answer unless it's something that is well beyond what you were receiving at that point. And then for the officer to react the way it's kind of like that pool party story, man, where the cop uh, could have
Clearly
acted
out of line.
right, where he was just lost his mind over something that was so petty, and somebody ended up losing their life for it. It's crazy.
Indeed.
Um,
Don't have anything else to add on that. I mean, it's like you said, it's a slow news week, and we're right at the time. It's almost an hour. So
I don't have any more on that, man. It's just, it's sad. It's sad that she had again, it's the opportunity. The theme for this episode, Scott, is you got opportunities, man. Like, just cling on to them and just don't let the world affect you. You affect the world. You are a proponent for change. You are a catalyst of change yourself in the world because you have that opportunity and have it taken away from you. Don't let it, man. Don't let it take it away from you.
indeed.
So with that, man, be sure to check us out at Polypompous on Twitter, the website, or the World Wide Web for you older demographics. Yes, that's right. We're going after the geriatric community with World Wide Web, polypompous.com. Yes, that is our website. I just posted a thing in regards to, I believe it was minimum wage, raising the minimum wage. That's the most recent post that we have on there. Really interesting. I pulled some statistical information, some percentages and so forth in regards to. We also have a Facebook page, ladies and gentlemen, which you probably know this already, and I am thankful that you do. It is pompously political on Facebook, so be sure to check that out. You have anything to add, Senor Scott?
No, we do have a couple projects we're working on as soon as we get some time to actually dedicate to them.
Right.
So we think you guys will enjoy. Outside of
are-
that, I got nothing.
Yeah, we are college students, ladies and gentlemen. We are of the not quite learned variety, but the learning variety, as I call it. And with that being said, our time is hard. It's hard. Sometimes people don't realize how much effort goes into a project like this, and that, and throw it on the school and family. We both have families and so forth, and so one of the projects we do want to kick out to you, ladies and gentlemen, is an about us. I know Scott wants to do his video, and I want to do my video, kind of like an MTV Cribs. This is who I am. This is my cool shit, whatever, you know. So you can get to know us a little bit. So if that's something you're interested in, it should be coming out hopefully shortly. So yeah, man, I don't have anything other than to tell these lovely people that have themselves a week.
Take care. Keep thinking.